audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. I call the meeting to order. Oh, well, first reorganization of the Board of Health. Any thoughts from the board?
I'm not sure what you mean by reorganization.
Every year you have to pick a chair and a vice chair.
Okay.
We reinstate you guys?
If that's what you would like, we'd have to get a comment from everybody.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I can start. I know I've only been here a year. I'm the shortest one here as far as how long we've been on the board together. And just from, my time here, I really feel like Sharon, I can see, has put a lot of work into the animal regulations. I found her extremely organized and informative, and I would like to nominate her as the chair.
Okay. Second?
And I think you've done a fantastic job, Pamela, but
Okay, that's
All right.
fine. We need comments from everybody.
I've already stated I'd like to reinstate
Okay,
our two existing chair people, so.
This gets complicated now. I probably will stay with Pamela.
okay.
And the fact that I've been nominated, I'm going to, I guess, abstain from voting.
So where are we at then?
Was that a formal vote? Was there a motion and a second? I guess how's the board choose to move forward? Did Kevin officially make a motion? Was there a second?
Oh, okay.
Then it would fail if there wasn't.
Okay,
Okay.
can you do a formal motion?
I make a motion to nominate Sharon as the chairperson for the Board of Health moving forward.
And do I hear a second?
Make a motion. I guess I can make a motion to second it and then discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
The only thing I'm going to say is, and I think I've said this to Pam, I'm certainly willing to take it on. All right, I'm the one that's retired, probably have a little bit more time to do it. I think Pam has done an excellent job. But my feeling is it's going to be up to the board to decide what they want to do. So I'm going to leave it up to the board. I'm going to not vote.
okay.
You could go through and do a roll call if you'd like to get a count. You got a motion and a second, just, if you would like to do a roll call to get everyone else's vote.
Okay, so Kevin, your vote is,
My vote is for Sharon. I have found her extremely organized. Again, I know from, week to week as we've gone in, all the adaptations she has done to the animal regulations. Every question that I have had personally, as far as an explanation, as some of the ways things operate, because I am new here, I've had many of them. I've always felt like I've gotten a straightforward answer. And Sharon is my nomination
okay,
and my vote, I guess.
I have a quick question. Do we have to nominate a vice chair too?
So right now, Kevin made a motion, so we have to see this motion through. If it doesn't pass, another motion can be made, but right now it's voting. Your vote would be either yes, yay or nay for Sharon.
Yes, yay.
Is that a yay or a nay?
Yay.
Okay.
Nay.
Sorry, are you?
Well, then if Pam's voting.
so it's 2-1?
No.
Yep, so far.
Oh, I see. So,
The yes, yes, you said no?
no.
Well, I guess I'll say yes.
To what?
Have
Oh.
a chair.
Okay, all right, I'm not,
So just
I
to
don't know what-
clarify, I just want to clarify so we have
I don't
it
know whether I should
officially.
vote for myself or not. Like, what do you do?
Were you abstaining, or you can vote for yourself? There's no
All right,
shame, you don't have to, there's no shame, you can vote for yourself.
I'll take it on and give you a break.
So just to make sure everyone is on the same page, we have a motion to have Sharon be the chair. We have a second, and we have 4-1 yes, 1 no. Is that correct? We're good?
Correct.
Did you get all? Okay. So the next step would be for the vice chair. So we would need a motion, a second, and then
Aye.
an agreement.
I would make a motion for Pam to be the vice chair.
Second?
Want to go do a roll call vote?
Aye, absolutely. She's done a great job as chair and having somebody to support, the next chairperson coming up. I can't think of anyone better.
Yay.
Ron?
Oh, Pamela?
For vice chair.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Pam, you a yes too?
Yes.
Unanimous, perfect.
We're not gonna switch tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we do? Okay. All right, I wasn't quite
Thank
expecting.
you, Pam, too. You've had a long reign as chair. We appreciate everything.
Yes, yes,
You're welcome, my pleasure.
yes, I think you've done
And a clerk. So we also have a clerk that we need to have as well.
Oh. Did we have a clerk before?
Ron was the clerk.
Oh, okay. Wasn't aware of that. Do you want to do it again?
Sure.
All right, I nominate Ron to be the clerk.
A second?
I'll second it.
All right,
That
Welcome, Kevin.
affirmative vote, aye.
yes, an affirmative here.
Matt?
Yay.
Ron? Do you agree to be the?
Yes. Sorry.
Pam and Sharon were,
Okay.
all right, so Sharon, you can call the meeting to order.
Wasn't it already called to order, but because of that?
No.
All right, I'm going to call the Board of Health meeting to order for July 19th, 2022 at 6:30 PM. As required by the law, the town may audio or video record the meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Okay. All right, so we did do the reorganization. The minutes, did anybody take a look at the minutes? Is there any change to the minutes? No? Do I have a motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second?
I
Aye?
was not here, I had the flu, so
Oh, all right,
I have nothing to say about last month's minutes.
aye.
Yeah.
Pam? Aye,
Yes.
and I'm an aye. All right, so those are approved.
Kevin, are you not voting or did you abstain?
For the minutes, I wasn't here, so I don't feel like so I abstained from voting.
Thank you.
Okay, the COVID update.
All right, so over the past 5 days, we have been tracking 6 active cases that have been reported. There's probably been other tests that haven't been reported. We're keeping an eye on the predominant strain of the Omicron, BA.5, and we're also looking out for BA.2.5, which is a new strain within Omicron that's coming. Right now, Cape Cod Hospital has 17 hospitalized individuals and 1 in the ICU. They've stopped breaking out if COVID has been the primary cause of hospitalization. For a while, they were reporting whether it was a comorbidity, so whether they broke a leg and they were hospitalized and happened to have COVID. They're not doing that anymore, which is unfortunate. Falmouth Hospital has 8 in with COVID and 1 in the ICU. We have access to the MWRA wastewater data, which is really interesting. I included a graph in your handout. As you can see, over December, there was a really large spike. And following the trend, it looks like it's going to be actually lower for the summer, which is nice to see. Once we have more sewer infrastructure on Cape, that'd definitely be something that would be set up for monitoring as well. So it is just interesting to see what's happening off Cape. I want to remind everyone that there's free telehealth visits for treatment with Paxlovid with a link in your packet. And Harwich has home test kits available if anyone would like to pick one up. We have a box outside of the health department. They're in public safety, the community center, and the library. If anyone wants tests, they are free.
Do you know what our rate is on Cape Cod as a whole?
For which
For
measures of
COVID.
disease frequency?
For COVID in general?
For the positivity rate?
Yeah.
They don't have just a Cape-wide one. I think if you averaged all the towns, it was around somewhere between 7 and 8%. Percent positivity really
I'd
isn't.
say it's a little skewed right now, just from experience at work. We get a lot of people calling who say, I tested positive at home, and we take it from there. So those cases aren't necessarily getting reported as they're not included in the percent of positivity, so.
It's really the severe hospitalization rates that are the important data right now. That's why it's disappointing that they broke it up. We don't know.
And I will just say this, thank you for that link and getting an email to me. That has been dispersed widely
Good.
at Outer Cape Health when we have not had the opportunity to get people televisits and get them seen. There have been many an email that have gone out with that link attached, so
Perfect.
thank
It's
you.
right on our website. I put it
I
on
had-
both the health department and the Board of Health
I gave that to
websites.
my neighbor and they used it. Yeah, that was because they couldn't get a hold of their physician.
Good feedback so far. We haven't had anyone have issues with it, so keep
Yeah.
using it.
All right. I'm gonna ask another question.
Sure.
Considering that the rates are going up, all right, we know 5 and 5 2.1, they're highly contagious. Is there any thoughts of, in large settings, of, I guess we wouldn't require masks, but recommend it?
I mean, you can certainly always recommend a mask. I think requiring, you would really need to look at some hard data. I
Yeah.
don't think positivity rate or incidence rate would be those triggers. I think
No.
it would be severe hospitalization would really be that trigger at this point. Where we do have vaccines readily available, we have treatment. It's a little different of a COVID than originally when we didn't have treatments or vaccines.
The only thing I'm gonna say to that is, even though people have been vaccinated, when they get COVID, they are still really, really sick. So to say that, oh, well, I'm vaccinated, if I get it, it's just gonna be a mild cold, is not the case. And I think people need to realize that, so that you can protect yourself, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think that the public should be aware that, you know, the number of cases, I don't think is anywhere near, is a lot more than what we're seeing.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the hospitalization rates come in and really important to
Yeah.
have.
So, yeah, that's my only comment on that.
Do we have any way of telling the public about that situation? In other words, do we?
I think it's on the CDC site.
How do we tell the public about this, let's say in this particular town,
About what?
about the cases and?
So it's on our website. We have a tracker. There's a separate link that the town website has that we haven't updated it this
Do
week.
people know how to get on the website in general?
Well, CDC has it too,
I understand.
town by town.
I understand that, but this,
Do you have suggestions that you'd like to see?
well, I'm just wondering how we can make it so that the people, let's say visiting and things like this, understand what's happening in town.
So I think he's going down the same line I am, that not to say that it's required, but to let the people know that the numbers out there are markedly low compared to what they really are, and to protect yourself. And I don't know I don't know how to do that, except maybe,
Well, that's what I wonder if, because I know people, particularly on my street and things like this, that all of a sudden, they picked it up. And, it never goes out into the public, so to speak. And so
Yeah.
I'm wondering how we could at least warn people that, you know, this has not gone away, even though it's summertime, things like this. I mean, it's nice to say it's on the website, but again, somebody coming from wherever, you know.
Yeah, from Connecticut or New York,
But,
might
you know,
want to get
they,
onto our
you know,
website.
I'm not sure how they can get onto the website or not even understand what website's available. So I'm not sure how we can do this, but, you know, so that people are a little more cautious.
And then in the past, we've had some signs like out on Main Street that just, you know, the mask is required. Is there a possibility of
Well,
getting those back out there, just saying, hey,
I
you
don't
know,
think we can do
protect
that.
yourself, masks are recommended?
So we could, I think we only have one or two left. Most of them were stolen and the
Yeah.
letters were,
Not surprised,
just say
yeah.
rearranged.
Okay.
So we have to be really careful about catching some of the rearranged letters that are out on the town sign.
Yes, I'm sure there are a few select words that they could
Yeah.
wind up spelling, but I mean, I agree, and though I don't think we're at the point now where we can mandate masks, I do feel like we should at least be, you know, putting that out there as a
Let
red
'em-
flag
let-
for people
yeah,
and just
kind of
saying,
let 'em
hey,
know
you
that
know,
to
numbers
protect
aren't.
yourself, you know, masks.
Sure, yeah, and if you have any suggestions, we're happy to follow through with it, other than, you know, the
Right.
website, but.
I know some of the places still have signs up that are masks are recommended as you walk in the door,
yes, yes.
on some of the places, but,
Yeah, fewer and fewer, I think, at this
yeah,
point.
you're right.
Especially with the summer, I think they want everybody they can get.
Yeah,
But you have Wednesday night in Harwich, you have that band concert, you have a lot of people walking. You have
yeah,
tonight. you have
something
a,
like that, or maybe on the Main Street, if we just had one sign that said, you know, COVID is still with us.
Yeah,
You know,
something
something like that, COVID
something
is still
like
with
that,
us,
so
you know,
that,
take precautions. Yeah,
that people can be at least warned that,
it's still
That's a good
there,
idea, yeah, I like
that it's still there. So
Sure.
I,
Yeah, we can
something
do
like that
something like that.
possible.
yeah.
All right, I would feel more comfortable with that.
I can't promise it won't be stolen right away, but
Well, what have a guard
we
dog?
we did chain a
That's
few
a
of them, and
shame,
it's
really. You would
still-
think they'd have better things to do.
Wow. All right, so that's I'm finished with that one. All right. Board of Health, we're going to discuss the animal regulations. So I don't know where we are with this because we have asked the animal. Okay. Where do we stand on this? Would you have any comments?
Can you come up to the mic, Jen? Thank you. Do you have a preference of what she goes?
Come up here.
Can you just introduce yourself too for the record, please?
Animal Control Officer Jennifer Harrington with the Harwich Police Department.
Okay.
So, I know that obviously you guys were looking at having an open meeting with the Agricultural Commission. I'm not sure what happened on their end. I have spoken with Mark Coleman several times on the commission, and did actually work with him on the regulations that we were discussing for the animal regulations. So again, I'm not sure what happened there. I know that they put a lot of work into it, into the regulations that they wanted to present to you guys.
And they've never come forward to do it.
They never posted agendas. They were supposed to come 3 times, and the agenda was either incorrect or they never posted it.
Okay,
And we had been working with Mark on how to do it.
okay. Well,
Feed a horse to water.
I'm sad to hear that. So, a couple of things. I was looking over the regulations that Katie had sent me. So, I know that originally, Sharon, you had put together 2 sets of regulations, one for all farm animals and then one for the for the stable permits for horses and piggeries. And I think that it's important to have all of the animals all of the farm animals in the animal regulations under the Board of Health. It doesn't make sense to me to go to the Board of Selectmen to do a partial animal regulations and under bylaws, and then have separate for horses and pigs. And I know that when I had originally questioned why we were only doing horses and piggeries, it was for health risk to humans. So one of the things that obviously that we've been dealing with is the avian influenza. I haven't been able to contact everyone in the town of Harwich who has poultry to make them aware of what's going on with the avian influenza. And several places that I've been to happen to be there for another call, and I noticed that they have chickens in the backyard. And they've heard nothing about, the avian influenza and how to keep their chickens safe and themselves safe, because it is a zoonotic disease. So in saying that, I do think that it is important to have the other regulations, have the other farm animals all in the same regulations.
Can I ask a question in between this?
Yeah.
The chair.
Okay. All right. I did have all the animals in there, and then one of the things that came to light was by putting them all in there, then there's a requirement that somebody has to be looking at it. All right, whether we've got the goats and the, I don't know what other kind of animals, everything else,
Yeah.
all right? And the Board of Health doesn't have that, a number of people that can go out there and monitor all of that. Am I correct?
And permit, yeah.
And permit, all right. So that was the reason then that after I did all of that, we cut it back to just this. We do mention in here chickens.
Yes, I did see.
So that would include the avian, the flu there.
Yeah.
So what my question would be is, I don't really understand what you do. So if we had it more specific in there, other than just the chickens as we have it,
Yeah.
what would you recommend putting in there, and then how would that change what you do?
So to give you just to give you a kind of an overall of what I do, I actually do all of the inspections. So I'm the one that typically goes out and does the stable inspection. But I also do, because I'm the animal inspector in town, so I also do all the Mass State inspections for barns, for all of the animals. And the state requires us to count all animals, all farm animals. So every year, usually we get the forms in September and we do them, we have until December 31st to complete them. So I do all of those, and usually I send them over to the health department so that Katie or the whole department has a list of the inspections that I've done. This year it was really, so they were postponed in 2020 because of COVID. So this past year was the first year that I really did full inspections for Harwich. And it was difficult because I am required by law to do all of the inspections for all animals, but I didn't know where all animals were because we only had a list of horses. So that made it really complicated.
All right, so what you're getting at then is, by having all the animals in here, I guess, and getting permits for them, would then allow you to know where you need to go? Is that what you're getting at?
So I don't think that, because I know permitting, usually there's a fee with permitting. And I don't want to go down that road for all of the other animals. I know that causes complications with the health department and causes more work. And I know that you guys don't have the staffing to do that. So if we had some sort of registry, and I don't have a problem keeping track of that, but I just want it stated in the regulations that there is a registry for poultry, and they can contact me and I can, sign them up on the registry. That's what we've done that's what I've seen in other towns. I know in Dennis, because I worked in Dennis, so I know a little bit about their animal regulations. Their regulations are under the Board of Health, and they are a right to farm town, which is one of the reasons I compared the two. And their regulations are covering all farm animals. And their animal control officer is also the animal inspector, and she does all of the inspections and whatnot, goes out and does all of that stuff.
So just to clarify real quick, those other towns, they have a bylaw that supports that Board of Health regulation. It's not just a Board of Health regulation, and that's why I had recommended going to either the Board of Selectmen for a zoning bylaw change. It's not strictly Board of Health, that leans on town meeting and that's been voted in. So that was where they got the real teeth for those other towns. It's not just Board of Health, it's based off of their zoning bylaw.
Because I guess the Board of Health, it would have to be a health issue, more or less, for us to weigh in.
And so those right to farm towns, they reference their
So they
zoning
went to the,
town meeting.
yeah, so then the bylaw, so then,
And that's where it gets complicated. So regulations are Board of Health, bylaws
Are-
come through town meeting and zoning.
all right. So if we, let's get into this a little, the weeds. If we did ask for a bylaw,
So
all
it
right.
wouldn't be, I mean, you could refer something to the Board of Selectmen, and it would have to come from the Board of Selectmen, and they would bring it forward to town meeting.
All right.
If they choose to.
if all those scenarios took place, and then we put that, maybe similar to what you're saying Dennis has. In other words, I don't know how we would do that.
You then reference, so you're referencing,
that-
that's how it's set up in Yarmouth, Dennis, Brewster, and Chatham.
So that then it's going to be referenced in our regulations, but you're going to be the one responsible for it. Am I understanding that correctly?
So either way, Jen would be responsible for it, even if we kept ours the way they are. She's listed as an enforcing officer.
Mhm.
It's, I'll bring in copies of their other regs so you can
I have,
compare do you have the zoning bylaw too, though? Just
So I
adjust
don't,
the-
because I'm confused as to, it doesn't say anything about that in the animal regulations,
So it does in the reference for the right to farm.
I
And
have
that's-
that as
It's all
well.
in that. So if you look at our right to farm and then our animal control regs, really, the only thing our animal control references is, I think, off-leash dogs, rabies certificate, and, I think there's one other. They're pretty weak.
Weak.
I don't think they've been updated
Can
in
I
a
bring these
while.
up to you?
You can pass them out, that's fine. So it's kind of a two-part for those other towns.
Thank you.
We can share, Kevin.
Get along, it's all right.
If you did require an all
Thank you.
animal registry, I would really recommend doing a lot of public hearings, so there can be input, I think. It would be great and really helpful for Jen, but I think we wanna make sure that it got to a large variety of the townspeople, just so they're not taken by surprise.
So how would that, explain why that would need to be, like, that,
So it really wouldn't impact us, it would just be to help Jen make sure her inspections get done.
all right, so that they realize that she's officially can do that, all right?
And the other side of it as well is not just for the inspections, but also for dealing with, when I do the inspections, or if I have a complaint of husbandry or too many animals on, in a certain area. We don't have any regulations right now to say that, that's not okay. And one of the big issues that I've come across in town is loose farm animals. We
And that's
have,
in the revision.
I did see the free ranging. So that is, but I wasn't sure, so
So if something comes up, if we would put everything back in, and something comes up that you would need to deal with, but isn't necessarily a health issue, then where do you go to
That
reinforce
was
that?
my suggestion, to have a bylaw change.
And that bylaw then would,
Give Jen more support,
but not necessarily the Board of Health.
if it's not a health-related concern.
All right, that makes sense.
That's what you're looking for, more or less, do you think?
Yeah, more or less. I would have to talk to you more about,
Yeah.
you know, the other side of it, because I don't know how to approach that. But yes, more or less, that is what I'm looking for. I think the big thing is just having, all of the animal regulations, in one area. Not having a separate bylaw that talks about, the space and the amount that you can have, and,
So the original one that I did, that was a small book.
yeah, yes, yes.
Sorry about that. Have you gone through that and marked like what you don't need or would like to?
So I did go through that, and we had actually, put together, kind of pulled from surrounding towns that were right to farm, used the one that you had put out as well, and kind of came up with.
Yeah, I kind of pulled from a group of them.
Yeah, and that's what it, and it makes sense. I mean, why recreate the wheel? So most of the stuff that's in red is changes or, things that we thought should be removed or added. So I did make copies of all of those for you guys as well.
And if you wanna send that to me digitally, I could get it out to everyone too, if
Okay.
anyone would rather have it digitally.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
I'll
so
give you,
if we did that, and then anybody that reads through that has comments, to either get them to you or me, and then is it possible for the three of us to sit down
We can bring it back at the next.
at the next meeting?
Meeting.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
Oh, I think we're getting somewhere now.
Finally?
It sounds like you both put in a lot of work.
Yes, you did track changes, I like that. Okay.
and then the only other, so, under the draft that you had put together, not the multi-animal,
Okay,
the.
this latest one.
Yes. Under section 4.4, the free ranging. So it obviously talks about the animals can't go off of their property, that the yard or area has to be enclosed in some way. Would that fall under, so if we do have, let's say, chickens, who are constantly in neighbors' yards, roosters who attack their neighbors, would that fall under, the 12.2 for violations? Okay, yeah, okay. And then 7.1, not more than 2 pigs are permitted for non-commercial raising or keeping without a piggery permit. I just wanted clarification, so if they have 2 or less, they don't have to have a permit?
Wait, what were the numbers on that again?
7.1.
So that was what the board was discussing previously. Their original existing regulation right now is you get 2 pets for free. They haven't discussed if they wanted to require a permit for the pets at this point.
Okay.
So that's something that they're still discussing.
And so, if they're not pets, if they're just being raised for,
For food,
For
then they
food,
would need
then they
a
would need a permit.
non-commercial permit, yep.
okay. 8.2. The last sentence, storing above ground requires covering the waste with a watertight cover. Above ground, does that mean off the ground? Because to me, above ground means just not in the ground, like not buried. I just wanted to make sure that that was,
We could clarify,
That's a
raised.
because that's, I know that that's one of
part
our
of the
issues
the
with a lot
ground and
of,
then over the soil.
so, I'm sorry, say that again?
The soil and then they have the compost. Correct?
So this isn't
I
for,
took that for containers or for trailers. That was my interpretation of it.
That would be an actual container.
Because you can have like a concrete pad,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't cover that, so you can rotate it. I think this is more above the storing before you bring it to the dump.
Okay, then maybe we need to,
I just know we've had issues previously with
Right.
folks having their,
We used to inspect that one
yeah,
issue.
okay.
And I'm trying to think what we finally decided on the compost.
We could clarify storing in containers.
And then my, let's see, 12.2.
So we can't change that.
Okay.
That's a state.
So this was more a question. In the discretion of the health agent, I know that I'm one of the enforcing officers. Do I fall in that category?
You would, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then my last thing, is under enforcing persons, if you could remove dog officer, because it has not been recognized in the state of Massachusetts for several years.
where are you seeing that?
Animal control officer / dog officer,
Where is that?
under enforcing persons. It's the last thing on the page.
Oh, that very little tiny thing, okay.
Oh,
I know it seems silly, but we've
No.
fought hard to not be referred to as dog officers, because we do enforce all animals, so.
So just eliminate the dog
Yeah,
officer.
yeah, just animal control officer.
Okay.
And I don't know if you wanted to put animal inspector, because it is a separate, certification, so I don't know if that has to be listed, as animal inspector.
I can change dog officer to animal inspector.
Okay.
so we'll have both animal control officer and animal,
Can you
okay.
do that, like slash
Yep.
control / inspector?
Mhm.
All right,
No, you should get credit for anything.
all right.
That was, I think that was all that I know you guys had discussed, I had watched the meeting, the last meeting, and the permit fees. I know that was discussed at the last meeting.
Mhm.
Is that, I assume that's gonna be on the website and not in the regulations, because if it changes, then you have to change the whole regulation.
Right,
so.
that's what I was
Okay.
getting at, to put it
Okay.
on there. And speaking of that, my only other question with that is, where it is under 4.6, under general performance standards. I guess to me, it makes more sense to put it under section 9, since it says stables and piggery permit. The word permit is there,
Sure.
to stick that sentence there.
Make it 9.3.
I actually would make it 9.1 and move these down, because to me, putting the permits
Sure.
information up front. And do we want to say that that's going to be reviewed yearly by the Board of Health? Not that we have to change it, but that
Do you plan on, because you don't review it yearly now?
we don't.
No.
So when do we, if we do,
It's not a set schedule.
it isn't, so we would just decide.
And you can if you'd like to make it that way.
But the only reason I'm saying that is I noticed in a lot of the other towns when I was doing this, that they say the fees will be reviewed yearly by the Board of Health, and then it's going to be on the website. If we don't change it, we don't change it.
Yeah, we can start doing that.
I think it would make more sense, and that way, if we want to do it, it's there. It could be a matter of, do we want to change the fee, and if we don't, it'll be just
You'd have to go through the public hearing process if you wanted to change it.
If we wanna change
But you
it.
could have a meeting to discuss, do a work session to discuss
yes,
it.
and chances are we won't be changing it very often. But that was just my thought to kind of keep in line with some of the others.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
So for the minimum distance requirements,
Just tell me where you are.
page 2.
Section 5.
What was that?
Section 5.
5. Okay,
And I guess I'm more looking at this because we've kind of had the requirements for the stables and whatnot. But as far as coops go, I know that we have people that don't abide by these guidelines. Is that something that would be grandfathered in, or would they have a certain amount of time to fix it? How would that work?
It's your call.
All right, I guess maybe then we ought to discuss it. My thing would be we could give them a certain amount of time to come into compliance.
Okay.
I can't see grandfathering it.
Okay.
I would rather see them come into compliance and give them a certain amount of time, but
And it might have to have something to with, some of these building stables we have approved, so you wouldn't expect them to knock down a 20 stall stable if it was 45 feet, so.
Yeah, I feel like that would have to be grandfathered in.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
that might
all
be a
right.
discussion where we invite all the current permit holders in to have with
All
the
right.
board and some
right.
input.
all right.
'Cause we
Now,
do
were
have
you-
some
were you
bigger stables that
Were you talking strictly about the coops, or were you talking stables? Because I see the two are
No, I
together.
mean, I guess it would go for both, because there are probably some stables that have been, in it, it's a barn, you can't move it. A chicken coop might be a little easier to move, but yeah, I guess it would cover all, because I don't recall what the footage was previously for barns, especially abutting other dwellings and properties.
So the stable one, actually, now that I look at it, I think the only part that changed was but I'd have to check on that.
Okay.
The property line is the same.
Okay, and I know the town water supply and the
That's
wells are the
standard,
same,
yep.
so,
That was
Those are
standard.
estate.
okay.
Would it, okay, Jen's going to shoot me for this. Would it make sense to split out stable and barn in one section and coop in another?
We could do that.
The stable and barn kind of go together. The coop is something else.
Yeah.
Just split it out.
Sure. Did you want to change the setbacks for the coop if you split it out?
I would say no.
I don't recall what other towns have for the coops, for the,
I don't remember either.
This was the same as Chatham.
okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this is pretty standard. I just thought that way, if something does change, we've got the barns and stables separate from coops for chickens.
Okay. And then I think that it's in there. Roosters has been a big topic for us.
As a noise.
I don't have a problem with roosters, and it does go with the noise part of the farming bylaw, the right to farm. However, I do have some folks in town that have 5 to 10 roosters, and they're not agricultural, and it's become a big issue. And abutting neighbors are frustrated because I can't do anything about it. And more so, I guess, the biggest problem is that the noise has been a problem, but the bigger problem is that these roosters have been attacking neighbors. And I don't have anything to fall back on to say, but if this is, the free ranging will cover that part of it.
Just gonna, like, if they're attacking the neighbors, then they're clearly getting into the,
Yeah.
that's I was just.
Yeah. And the noise that's something that, again, it falls under the right to farm.
So nuisance, it would still fall, noise is a nuisance, so
Mhm.
the Board of Health does have a right to go the nuisance route. Nuisances are hard to prove, that's the only issue.
Yeah.
I remember this coming into the Board of Selectmen a long time ago,
Yes.
with people had roosters that were making noises, because they
Yeah.
were, they were within the town.
Got kids.
Yeah.
I get it when the property, it's a small property, very small property, and the neighbors are right on top of each other in this area, and the roosters are loud. And I've been trying to work with her on keeping the roosters in until 7 a.m., and then letting them go out and putting them away at night before, when the noise violation starts, so.
All right,
We don't have any regulation on the amount of chickens people can have?
You can add it. We don't really have chicken regulations other
roosters
than
don't.
just, I know the Sandwich Board of Health just visited the rooster, and that was kind of a hot button
Yes.
Yeah,
issue.
And I want to make this clear, I don't want to get rid of roosters. I don't want to have anything that says that we're not allowed to have roosters, because that is taking away from the right to farm. And I don't have a problem with people having pet roosters, but I think that maybe there needs to be a limit on property size. If you have, less than a half acre, you can't have 5 roosters. But
Then you
I
get
don't
in the-
know.
Is there a public health hazard,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, see, yeah.
Okay.
that's roosters are a tough one.
I know they are.
All right, so we can take this into consideration and maybe go back to we can discuss at the board whether we want to go back to the full book. And we'll see how everybody feels
So
about
the
it.
next meeting, would you like me to invite our stable permit holders, or do you think you
That'd
need
be
one
great.
more work
Well,
session
Yeah,
to iron it out
They
beforehand?
seem to be absent from all our talking, so.
Well, you haven't really invited anyone to speak so
Well,
far.
I thought we were gonna have the agricultural people here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I also feel that individuals who aren't necessarily part of the agricultural committee who have their own private stables, I would love to have input from them as
Yeah,
well,
that'd be
so.
great.
Do you want the
Yeah.
next meeting, or do you wanna have one more work session to iron everything out?
Let's get some information from the.
So
other
everyone
people.
is
Yeah,
okay
it's
with the
just for a
edits
discussion.
suggested
Let's-
today?
let's get them
See
in
what
here.
their thoughts are, because.
Sure,
they-
Yeah.
we can send out,
give us
I'm
an
just
idea.
gonna ask you one further question. You
Yes.
brought up the avian flu. What,
hearing.
what are you thinking about as far as, you were hoping to have the chickens in the regs? How does that affect you in dealing with that?
So the biggest thing when we started finding birds on the Cape, I wanted to make sure that we got the word out that there is a potential that your birds at home are at risk, especially if you have waterfowl. And they have found poultry to have it as well, but it's more common in the waterfowl. So,
So you're looking at ducks?
all poultry.
All poultry?
All
right,
poultry.
well, okay.
But it has been more prevalent in the waterfowl, in our seabirds, and there was a farm off Cape that the state removed 83 birds, chickens, ducks, and turkeys, because some of their animals tested positive. So the biggest thing is I wanted to get the word out to people who had chickens on how to keep their chickens safe. And I just didn't have a way to get in contact with everyone, because I didn't know who had chickens. So the people that I did know that had chickens, I would go and, I have a handout, which I didn't bring with me, that the state put out on the avian flu and how to keep your chickens safe. And I think you guys had it.
I had forwarded it. Your email sometimes bounces back. You might not have gotten it.
Yeah, I don't
It
remember
is on our
seeing that.
website too.
All right. Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
But
I
I
know-
just
I know
wanted a
there's been
way
an issue with
to
it.
reach people, to let them know that this was happening and the biohazards and how to keep your family and your,
What if any of the people that have these chickens or waterfowl and these animals die, are they to report it?
they're supposed to report it. They're supposed to report any signs of illness.
All right,
Um,
all right,
And we
And
put
we
those
have-
phone numbers out too,
all right,
because there's two depending on whether it's wildlife or domestic animal.
all right. Okay, so we will revisit this one more time, for sure. All right,
So it might not be able to be at the next meeting. We just did the math real quick. I don't know if we get the public hearing, the way the
Yeah.
Chronicle falls. So if we can't make it work for the next one, we'll do
make it for August,
September.
September,
my
yeah,
goodness.
September, that'll work, that'll work.
Do people need a permit to have chickens?
Not right now.
So how would you know who has chickens?
That's a, yeah.
So if we did something, whether it's permitting or a registry,
Right,
Um,
okay.
just so that, so that we do know where chickens are in the town, so that we can contact those folks to let them know if we do have something like the avian flu
But nobody,
going
but
on.
nobody has to register that they have chickens or something like that?
That's what
As
Jen's
of-
requesting.
Yeah, as of right now, no.
So maybe what we ought to be looking at is then is to register all the animals, not necessarily permit it. But I'm talking like, let's say they've got goats. I know people that have goats.
Lots of goats in town.
So where do we want to go with that? See, I think to me, it's going to be hard to say, let's register chickens, but we're not going to register goats. Or,
Maybe if you have over 50 chickens, you have to register. Something like that, if you have a large flock. I have a funny feeling there's gonna be a lot of pushback if you have any chickens, you have to register them. But maybe if you pick a number that's a larger number, that would actually be at more of a public health risk, then you could argue that.
is any of that information in the one
So
that you?
like Brewster, they do
That they-
require registration, I think it's 25 chickens.
Yes,
All right.
and I believe Dennis, you have to get a chicken permit, it's $5 a year, for any chickens. And then if it's 50 or more, or 30 or more, it's a different permitting process.
So everybody has a copy of this. Is that what you handed out?
Yes.
All right, so.
I like the idea of 25 chickens or more.
Yeah. All right, so
Yeah, because there's
let's,
a lot of people that just have a handful of chickens and,
Yeah.
they're just having eggs for themselves, so that's,
Yeah.
all right. So take, for the next 2 months, take a look at it and see that we can bring this back and discuss how far we want to go with this. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I think having some kind of limit, 25, whatever the number may be, having those registered, but also making sure that your information in regards to people being able to protect not only themselves, but their livestock as well, whether they be, 5 private or just for their own personal use. I would love to try and make that widely available. I think having access to that information for anybody who's a responsible pet owner, whether it be a dog, a cat, whatever the case may be. If you got chickens, where is that information available to them, and can we have your recommendations somehow linked or through the website, but making sure that you have that you're able to put out the information that you feel is important to those owners, even if they don't have to necessarily register. And you, sounds like you want to be able to reach out to everybody at least, or get that information dispersed to everybody who has chickens that they are keeping, whether it be 10, 25, regardless of the number. And I think your input would be invaluable in that, but making sure that we have the means to get that information into people's hands.
yeah.
All right. All right.
I
Anything else?
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you.
And I will be at the September.
So either way, do we want a work session for August? And if we can't get the public hearing scheduled with the advertisements?
That's right, we're in July.
So we'll aim for the public hearing for
Yeah.
August. I don't
No.
think the way the Chronicle falls, it will work.
Let's have a work session in August.
Yeah, we'll do-
Just
Right.
aim for it in September.
And then the public
Not-
hearing
not
in
do the-
Public hearing in September.
That sounds good.
All right. Okay,
See you in August.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, the review of the Board of Health dates.
So, we wanted to make sure we're gonna have a quorum for the remainder of the public health, for the remainder of the Board of Health meetings. Matt will not be here October through December, is that correct? So we wanna just verify that we actually will have a quorum for each of these meetings. And if not, we can rework the schedule.
I have nothing pressing now that says I won't be at any of those meetings. I should be able to make them all.
Okay. Ron, what about you? You should be able to make them?
Most likely, yes.
Pam?
To my knowledge, yes. I mean, I
Yeah. I'm only gonna have trouble with December.
December?
And I'm gonna say I might, but the fact that I might, we might, I could probably go earlier.
Well, if it's
Or-
December, why don't we, do you know,
Do we wanna just not have it? Can we do that?
it's up to you.
December, that 20th that's a tough time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe would we be better off having it earlier?
That's what I was saying, either earlier or,
Sure,
Maybe-
so we
maybe
can
the-
check room availability
Maybe first
and then bring it
maybe-
back
yeah,
at
maybe
the next
first-
meeting, or we
first
can
week or
send
s-
out an
yeah.
email
Yeah, because
and do a
the
poll
20th,
that way.
everybody's visiting and.
yeah, I
doing
don't know
all
that I'll
kind
be
of
here.
things,
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
That's the only one that's gonna cause a problem for me.
So we'll check room availability, and we'll send out an email to everyone. If you can just make sure to respond kind of on the quicker side if possible, just so we can get the room booked and everything changed.
Okay, new business. Oh, the showcase hearing, for 100 Gray Neck Road, Carlson. Show cause hearing to discuss noncompliance with an order issued to upgrade a failed septic system. I don't know what I did with that.
I can tell you that I just did the post office tracking on the certified letter that we sent for tonight. This is their legal mailing address according to the assessor's office. This delivery status as of July 14th says vacant.
So.
But nothing's been returned to us. We're
Haven't
waiting
been
for
returned.
certified.
Okay. So December of 2021, we received a failing Title V inspection for 100 Gray Neck Road. We sent out an order letter to engage a professional engineer to start designing the upgraded septic system. We haven't heard anything from the owners. We did get records that indicate the property transferred during that time. We did witness test holes on March 3rd of 2022. But since then, we haven't heard anything, so unfortunately, the system is just sitting there failed. I would recommend to start utilizing the non-criminal disposition, send out the warning and then fining, and then to pick a date, and if they haven't upgraded the septic system, to order that the water be shut off, just so it's not becoming more of an environmental hazard. I would suggest September 1st at this point, but would be amenable to other dates.
September 1st sounds good.
Anybody want to make a recommendation or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendations made by the health director.
Second?
Second,
Oh,
Aye.
Aye.
I,
aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, the health director
Okay.
report.
So July's been very busy with inspections, following up on complaints, doing some final pre-openings. We will be doing a tobacco training for the inspector staff with Bob Collette, who is the head of the Cape Cod Regional Tobacco Control Program. And it's a great opportunity for our other Jen, who hasn't done tobacco inspections yet, to be trained really by the best on the Cape. Bob's fantastic. He's just a wealth of knowledge. So he'll come in, he'll train Jen, he'll give Carrie and I kind of a refresher course. If you look at the attachment to my director's report, we did issue a violation to one of our tobacco permit holders. They were selling products that were not related to tobacco, and their license is really clear that they can only sell tobacco and tobacco-related products. So that violation is attached if anyone has any questions. The One Cape Summit is coming up beginning of August, and Carrie and I will be attending. It's a regional forum, basically goes over different environmental and major policy issues in the area. So Carrie and I are excited to learn a lot at that conference coming up. And then just in departmental news, very appreciative of all Jen Clark's hard work. The phones have been very busy. Inspections are really busy, and we're just chugging away. I also attached, as part of this update in your packet, some of the monkeypox provider information if anyone was interested in that. That is something that we are tracking and keeping an eye on. That is my director's report for the month.
All right, correspondence. I don't think we had any.
Nope.
No correspondence. All right, permits.
So we have one new utility installer. We have a new Rock Harbor Shellfish Company. Right now, they're just selling their scallops at the farmers markets, and then they plan on hopefully getting a mobile food truck up and running. We also have a new septic installer, and the Allen Harbor Inn is under new management for the pool. The only one that would need a condition would be Rock Harbor Shellfish Company. That would be dependent on pre-opening mobile food inspection.
Okay.
Make a motion to pass the permits with the condition that Rock Harbor Shellfish gets an inspection. Passes.
Second that motion?
Okay. Vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. So we have an other. Is there any other?
Do you have anything unless anyone else does?
Can't think of anything. Anybody happy?
On this open meeting, how do we sign up for one or the other?
There should be instructions right on it.
On the bottom, I think, all administration.
Or get the
Just call.
Okay, all right.
I did ask Katie to ask, to find out whether we can have that recorded, so that anyone that can't make that because of work
It's a good idea.
would be able to see that.
Yeah.
I think
I'll
that's,
touch base with
I
administration
think that's really
tomorrow.
important. I think it's important that we all take that. Other than that, any motion to?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye. Okay,
All right.
all right.